Hello class, Mr. Scientia here with another math tutorial. We're going to be dealing with ratios today, and I think it'll be a good idea just to go ahead and jump right in. Now, a lot of times you're going to see your ratios presented to you, or your ratio problems presented to you in story problem format. And so I've got three story problems here. We want to go over all three of them before we get into the actual working the problems. First one I have up here is there are 56 rock and roll songs on my MP3 player, but I'm not sure how many country songs there are. I know that the ratio of rock and roll to country is 7 to 3. I want to calculate the number of country songs, and I'm going to use models. Models are a great way to visualize your ratios and help you calculate them and figure them out. And so now the next one is, I know I have 444 books on my bookshelf, and I know that the ratio of reference books to other book types is 10 to 8. I need to calculate the number of reference books. And the third one, Doug, Grace, and Teresa have been selling billiard supplies. I don't know how much they have made, but I know that Doug made $24 more than Grace, and the ratio of their sales is 7 to 4 to 2. Calculate the amount each sold and find the total money made. And at this point I want to go ahead and show you some models, help you visualize, and we're going to go ahead and work through each one of these problems. We're going to go ahead and go through it kind of quickly. So as I said, I've got on my MP3 player, I have 7 rock and roll songs to every 3 country songs. And all I need to do is figure out, if I have 56 rock and roll songs, how many country songs does that mean I have? So the basic idea here is to take the number of rock and roll songs and divide that by the number of rock and roll songs in my ratio, which is to say, I'm going to take 56 divided by 7, and that's going to give me the value of each individual model. And each model is represented by either a guitar or a cowboy hat. And regardless of which one it is, they're all worth the same value. In this case, 56 divided by 7 is 8, so I know that each one of those models is worth 8 songs. So I'm going to go ahead and take the value of 8, and I'm going to multiply it by 3 to get 24, which is the total number of country songs, 3 being the number of cowboy hats that I had there. We'll go ahead and go on to the second problem. It's my bookshelf. I've got 144 books represented by 10 reference books and 8 of other kinds of books. And I need to figure out how many of my 144 is made up of reference books. And to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the antecedent and the consequent, the antecedent being the first number and the consequent being the second number in my ratio. So 10 to 8, I'm going to add them together. 10 plus 8 is 18. Then I'm going to take that 18, and I'm going to divide it into the total number of books that I have on my bookshelf, or 144, and that's going to give me my unit value. So if I go back here now, I know that each one of these books and each one of these books is worth 144 divided by 18, which is 8. So again, value of my books is 8. So I'm going to then take 8, and I'm going to multiply by the antecedent, and I'm going to multiply by the consequent to figure out how many of each type of book I have. The problem only calls for the total number of reference books, so I take 8 times 10, and it's going to give me 80. I have 80 reference books. Now I've got this one solved. I can move on to the third and final problem, where I'm looking at a billiards table. I've got Doug, Grace, and Teresa, who have each been kind enough to put their pile of cash on the pool table here. I don't know how much each one of these is, but I do know that Doug made $24 more than Grace. So I know that these 3 piles are worth $24. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and divide the difference I know, 24, by the number of units more than Grace's, which is 3. So 24 divided by 3 is going to give me 8, which is the unit value, the individual unit value. And then going to take that and multiply it by each unit in each person's pile. So I've got 8 times 7 for Doug, 8 times 4 for Grace, and 8 times 2 for Teresa. So Doug made $24 more than Grace. It was 8 times 7. He made $56. Grace made 8 times 4, which is $32, and Teresa made $16, and then I'm going to add those each up in order to get the overall money that Doug, Grace, and Teresa made. Now that taken care of and out of the way, chances are you are not going to be working with 3D modeling when you're doing your homework, which is where paper comes in. On paper, you're probably going to look something like this. We're going to have rock and roll versus country. You're going to just write out some boxes. 7 boxes for the rock and roll, 3 boxes for the country. You label the 56 for the rock and roll and a question mark for your country. You're going to figure it out. You're going to do the math. You're going to get the right answer. For the books, here I've opted just to do circles for my models. And we know that the reference books and the other books together gives 144, and we're trying to figure out what the reference is, so that's where our question mark is. And finally, with the third one, we know that Doug has 7 piles of cash, and I've just used dollar signs for my models. Grace, her ratio is 4, and Teresa, her ratio was 2. We're going to go ahead and calculate based on the $24 more than Grace, and we're going to work on it from there. Now, you can go ahead and do your models however you want. Your teachers may not require you to, but if they do, just keep in mind you can be creative with it. Just keep it clean, and your teacher's going to be happy, and you're going to have a lot fewer errors if you do it that way. And if you have any additional questions, or if you have any confusion, you want me to clarify anything, just go ahead and post a comment below, and I will see what I can do about getting it updated or getting your answers out there for you. Thank you.